Stanley Kubrick began filming Eyes Wide Shut in November of 1996. It didn't finish until June of 1998. This was due to the script slowly changing as time went on, and also the director's well-documented obsession with perfecting his films. Although it initially debuted to mixed reviews, years later, Eyes Wide Shut has gained a greater appreciation in film academia. Kubrick's efforts paid off. The film is about a strained marriage between Alice and Bill. One night, during an argument about the difference between fidelity for men and women, Alice tells Bill that she once fantasized about another man. Upset, Bill walks the streets and is tempted to cheat on his wife. Through chance, he discovers an underground sex club for the wealthy elite, and his life suddenly takes a turn towards danger. Color symbolism and shot decoration play key roles in understanding the film. Many scenes in the film are shrouded in red, blue, or its combination, purple. Red is often the color of passion, or danger. In the case of this film about sexuality and violence, it's actually both. Look at this scene. It's a phone conversation between Bill and Alice. Bill is in a red room with a woman working as a prostitute. When we cut back to Alice, she's in a blue room. When Bill's at the sex club, much of it is draped in red, passion, danger. When he comes home later in the film, blue is everywhere. It's inescapable. What does all of this mean? Well, the context clues suggest that red is sex and danger, the fantasy world, whereas blue is cold reality. Notice that back in this scene, Alice is revealing a great truth, the reality of her thoughts, to Bill, while she is backlit in blue, directly behind her. When Bill is imagining Alice being with the man she desired, learning the truth after all this time, his thought is in blue. When Bill's walking the streets, worried about his marriage, what he used to believe both about his wife and women in general, purple appears. A combination. He's indecisive. He's in the middle ground between acting on his impulses, his desires, and being with his wife. It's the spectrum of color filling in for the figurative spectrum of human interaction, and it comes up early in the film. When Bill's flirting with two women at the party, he asks where they're planning to take him. They say they are taking him, as they put it, where the rainbow ends. Later in the film, when Bill is searching for a costume for the sex club, he goes to a store with a rainbow on the logo, a spectrum of color, endless possibilities. He is about to become someone else. Further, Eyes Wide Shut takes place around Christmas. It's frequently referenced both in dialogue and in scenery. Christmas lights can be seen everywhere, all the colors. At the end of the film, cloaked in blue, the truth, Bill walks over to his Christmas tree, these lights, these possibilities, and he shuts it off. This symbolizes his decision. He will accept the reality of his life, turning away from red, and confess to his wife what's been going on. He breaks down crying in a blue room. There are many other examples, these are just a few. Cinematography outside of color choice is also important in the film. There are several scenes in which the camera is following directly behind Bill, following behind in long shots, and then leading in front of him in others. This is not random. It's role reversal and change of perception, narrative and theme through cinematography. Bill's role as a husband is called into question, so it's role reversal through camera position. In this scene, the camera dances around Sandor and Alice. Sandor is desperately trying to get Alice to sleep with him, but she refuses, though it seems as if she's tempted. The camera moves around in nearly the exact same pattern in this scene at the sex club. It's possible that the idea here is to show that while the sex party's intention is explicit, the intention of the superficially chaste party is the same. After all, Bill is called away from the two flirtatious women to deal with a medical matter involving an overdosed sexual partner of the party's host. The visuals also show a recurring motif of the female form. Although this is a film about relationships and sex, women's bodies are not shown in traditionally erotic ways. The women at the sex club wear masks and are made to look frightening and imposing more than sexual. Another shot of a naked woman comes in the form of this corpse, and another at this doctor's office. The women in this film are actually de-eroticized purposefully. It shows us the ugly side of an allegedly exciting affair. In addition to the film itself being an expertly crafted work of art, Eyes Wide Shut also references other art forms to create a layered and rich experience. The password to the sex club is Fidelio, which Bill and Nick recognize as the name of an opera written by Ludwig van Beethoven. The opera is a story about how a woman disguised as a prison guard named Fidelio rescues her husband before he is executed in prison. A similar situation plays out later in the film. When Bill is discovered by the masked men, he's trapped, imprisoned, told he must take off his clothes. A woman he met, who he later discovers is named Amanda, rescues him at the risk of her own safety. The password being Fidelio, the opera, is not only a reference, but foreshadowing. It's also a direct explanation of one of the film's central themes. After all, Fidelio means faithfulness. Sandor and Alice briefly discuss Ars Amatoria, or The Art of Love, by the poet Ovid. It's actually a series of lessons for men about how to find a woman. This was written a little over 2,000 years ago. So why reference it? Sandor believes that women only married so that they could lose their virginity the proper way, and then have sex with who they really want. There are references to other books, albeit shown instead of spoken. In this scene, although it's difficult to see, Domino apparently owns copies of Introducing Sociology and Shadows on the Mirror. The former is exactly what it sounds like, a book about sociology, the study of social behavior. Maybe Domino was only working as a prostitute in order to make her way through college. The latter is a novel about a successful woman who moonlights as a prostitute. The music in Eyes Wide Shut is haunting, such as in this scene.
You will kindly remove your mask.
Eyes Wide Shut may be a film about sex and relationships, but Kubrick's use of imagery and music creates a very unsettling thriller. Gender roles and masculinity are explored in this scene. Bill is walking down the sidewalk when a group of strangers, all men, start mocking him and without any provocation or evidence call Bill a homosexual. Over and over. Bill, who is completely surprised by this and is still reeling from his wife saying she desires someone else, feels his masculinity threatened. It's not outright said, but the fact that he immediately goes to a prostitute's apartment afterwards as a kind of revenge against Alice and proof of his heterosexuality pretty much says it all. Eyes Wide Shut plays with our expectations of people and what we perceive to be their roles in society. Domino, the prostitute, has books that may suggest she is a college student, that she's educated. Also, her interaction with Bill is not cold and professional. It's actually warm, romantic, and earnest. We feel for her, and when it's revealed later in the film that she is HIV positive, we feel for her even more. When Bill learns that Amanda, another woman who is said to be a prostitute, has passed away, he's stunned and grief-stricken. Although we're not given much time to let this sink in, if you pause the film at this exact moment, you will learn Amanda's entire backstory. She wanted to be an actress, but her career stalled because of rumors that she had an affair with a fashion designer. There's a theory that the fashion designer is this man, the head of the cult, because the newspaper clipping says the designer's name is Leon Vitali, and the cult leader is played by an actor named Leon Vitali. This might be nothing more than an in-joke. Anyway, the point is that public perceptions of Amanda's own private sex life ruined her career. It was society that decided she was a sex object, not herself. Bill believes Alice's role is that of his wife and the mother of his child. Alice doesn't see herself that way. She sees herself as more. She's hurt when Bill suggests that men want to be with her because she's beautiful, because this ignores all her other attributes. Her intelligence, her personality. Eyes Wide Shut examines our expectations of people, particularly women. Take this scene. The owner of the costume shop finds his teenage daughter with two grown men. The owner threatens to call the police, suggesting that she's underage. This is the reaction that we expect from a father finding that two men want to commit statutory rape with his daughter. But later, Bill learns the truth. The father is selling his daughter for sex. He also implies that Bill could have his way with the young girl for the right price. Altered expectations of sex and roles for women. And what about men? It's fitting that Tom Cruise was cast in the role. He usually plays upright heroes. This means that our expectations of him is that he will be our selfless protagonist, but we quickly find him flirting with other women, dismissing his wife's concerns, nearly sleeping with another woman, and attending a bizarre sex club. In fact, the audience's expectations for Eyes Wide Shut was that it would be an erotic film. Instead, they were treated to a densely layered nightmare about modern relationships and gender roles. Expectations subverted yet again. During an argument, Bill falls into age-old gender roles. He believes women are more faithful than men, and that men are less faithful because they are instinctively hunters. Bill is a wealthy doctor who has complete faith in his wife because why on earth would she ever want anyone else but him? This next bit may be a coincidence, and I'm willing to accept that, But it's worth noting that Dr. Bill's name sounds a lot like Dollar Bill. He not only uses money, but also his identity as currency to get what he wants. He's constantly flashing his medical credentials in his wallet, as if it were a police officer's badge. Alice's name may be a reference to Alice in Wonderland. A bored girl who is not content with her life goes through the looking glass. Alice is sometimes seen looking into mirrors. So what about the masks? These are actually patterned on Venetian masks. The Venetians, so the story goes, wore masks as a means of disguising their debauchery. So what about the ending? Bill finds his wife sleeping next to his mask, the symbol of his secrets next to his faithful wife. Later, they discuss what's next for them. Alice references a nightmare she told him about earlier, how she was happy to be awake. This is paraphrased by a newspaper that Bill reads with the headline, "Lucky to be alive." Alice says they need to have sex as soon as possible, and then the film ends. Alice and Bill talk about finally being awake now, but it's just as likely that they want to forget the past and live in blissful sex. They haven't resolved all their issues. Alice explicitly does not commit to forever when Bill mentions it. Their eyes are still shut, still dreaming. They're simply lucky to be alive. Thanks for watching.